All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time today. We'll hear more from them later, but we are back. It is back to a two-man show today. Brian Hines with Alex Barth, as always. Thanks to everyone for listening and following along with our draft shows over the weekend and the dual shows with Taylor and Mike. We really enjoyed those. Hope you really enjoyed those as well. But we're back, two-man regular Pats Beat here today. The draft is obviously over, so we hope you guys have lots of questions about the draft. We're going to turn it over to you guys and let you ask any questions you have in a little bit. But we do have some, housekeeping items to do beforehand. And we can start with the news of the week, the exciting news, the news I think we all wanted to see this offseason, and that was a contract extension to Christian Barmore as they continue to kind of take care of their own guys in this, draft and develop team that they are now under Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo. So Christian Barmore, 4-year, $84 million deal, can max out at $92 million, I believe, with the incentives. So that was obviously at the top of all of our checklists after his monster year last year. So that was very good to see them kind of take care of Barmore there on Monday.
Yeah, that was the one extension they really had to get done this offseason. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson we'll see, but he's also a running back, so that's just inherently different. Barmore's a playmaker. He's a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. It's a defensive line that's going to undergo a lot of change in the next year or two with some older players, guys whose lesser players whose contracts are up. So it was a contract they needed to get done. It's good to see him get it done.
Yeah. Once he stayed healthy last year and you saw his pass rush ability kind of mimic what it was his rookie year, and then he took that step forward with his run defense, right? He posted a career high at run stops. We heard DeMarcus Covington talk all the time how that area developed, called him a complete 3-down player. So that was kind of a no-brainer to try to extend him before, as you said, reach free agency. I think he's the only defensive lineman under contract now, besides Keon White on his rookie deal, under contract for next year. So
Sam Roberts is the other one.
Sam Roberts too. So you needed him. You needed him around, and that was good to kind of take care of him there.
Yeah, absolutely. It like you said, it continues that draft and develop thing, and yeah.
Yeah, so that's...
sorry, I remember what I was going to say. Your point about him being healthy, that's a big one, because I don't think he was ever really healthy in 22. Maybe at the very beginning of the year, but you remember he missed a lot of time with that knee injury, came back, didn't look right. Now that you saw it last year, he's finally healthy. You could see what he's fully able to do. Now he's got to stay healthy. That would be the big if, but if he can, I think he's totally going to be worth this contract.
Yep, 100%. So that was the big news. Again, that broke on Monday. Good to get Barmore extended there. We had a few signings. We had a pass rusher from the Giants who I'm blanking on his name. It also starts with an X. Like, he's the only player.
O'Shane. It's like Zamines, I think.
Zamines. Only player, I believe, whose last name starts with an X in the NFL. So they didn't draft an edge guy last weekend. So they bring in Eximes, who played under outside linebackers coach Drew Wilkins with the Giants. So a little edge depth there. And then we have our kicker. We have our competition kicker for Chad Ryland. That was something we talked about a lot. People said, are they going to draft one? UDFA. We always kind of said, they're probably going to go this veteran route. So Joey Sly gets cut by the Commanders a few days ago, and they add him here for that veteran and for some competition for Chad Ryland.
Yeah, and a veteran always made sense. I know some people wanted them to draft a kicker, sign a UDFA kicker, but there's just rookie kickers are an unknown. That's what they always are, and that's what Chad Ryland became last year. He was an unknown because he put up much better numbers in college. It was just something about being in the NFL altered that. So adding another rookie isn't the guy you bring in for competition. You're taking another long shot. You want to bring in a guy that maybe has less of a ceiling, but is definitely going to be more sturdy. And Sly's a good example of that. 82% career on field goals, 88% on extra points. Like, he's not an all-pro, but he's been pretty steady throughout his whole career. And he's a guy that ideally, you would think Chad Ryland can beat out. But if he continues to struggle, like, you do have an NFL kicker on the roster. Maybe not top-end NFL kicker, but you have an NFL kicker on the roster.
Yep. Yeah, I think he was like 26th Sly in the league in field goal made percentage. So But that's where you're kind of shopping at this time of the year, right? You're not going to go
Right.
out and just sign like a Justin Tucker, obviously, or someone. But he is an NFL kicker, and he has that. I think you raise if Ryland doesn't bounce back, you probably raise the floor in that room a little bit more than
Right.
obviously what you had last year with Ryland in his struggles. But
And
it's
it
going to be,
also look, it just sends the message. It like
yeah,
you get him under the pressure of competition, and maybe it doesn't end up being slide. Maybe they end up on the other side. You know, the Titans had a couple kickers in camp last year. None of them worked out. So what do? They go and they trade for Nick Folk. So it could be another thing where you added the pressure. Ryland didn't rise to it, but you also don't think Sly's good enough. And they're in the market for a kicker come roster cuts.
yeah, yeah. I mean, over the weekend with these draft picks, how many times did we see or hear Gerard Mayo say we want to create as much competition on the roster as possible? He said it with the quarterbacks. He said
Exactly.
it after they drafted, Layden Robinson, create competition on the interior of that offensive line. So they want to create as much competition as possible. And obviously, when Chad struggled like that last year, that's a spot you're going to naturally want to create some competition. And obviously, not writing Chad Ryland off, right? Like there's still, as you said in college, there's still a lot of potential there. We saw,
Right.
glimpses last year, like the Denver kick, but just you needed to bring in a veteran there and create some competition there. So that comes in the form of Joey Sly. We'll watch them go at it throughout the spring and the summer. And so that was the signings. That was all the signings from the past week. We did have we spoke to Michael Winu today, Juwan Bentley today, Ramondre earlier in the week, as well as Joshua Uche, where he's going by Joshua this year to honor his
Yeah.
father. You kind of said Ramondre with the contract. He said he was interested in resigning with the team. That might be the next extension in line potentially. The other news I'd say from speaking with those four was Mike Onwenu said that he was brought back with the expectation. He talked about it with the team during negotiations that he's going to play right tackle, which we kind of saw that coming. It seemed to be trending in that direction, but just kind of getting a confirmation there from Big Mike today that he's going to at least start the year at right tackle.
It's also interesting to hear him say he was asked if he thinks he could play left tackle, and he said no, not right away, which again hammers home the point. It's really not that easy to move right tackles over to left tackle, and I don't think he wants to be in that situation. I don't think he wants himself put in that situation, opposed to playing where he's comfortable.
Yep. Yeah, it's a tough spot. I think he said he would probably need like another off season full of training and technique and everything. So just something kind of interesting to keep in mind when they're bringing Caden Wallace in here and hoping to flip him from the right to the left side there. But anything else from those availabilities with those four guys? That
I think that was pretty much it.
that was pretty much the big news. But yeah, so that was kind of the news that trickled in over the last week after the draft. So we could kind of turn this over to you guys now, and any questions you have about the draft or the roster, or maybe looking ahead towards training camp competitions, anything on your mind, you can kind of fire away, and we'll try to get as many as possible.
You want to hear from our friends at Prize Picks while people get questions in, and then we can roll through those?
That's perfect. We could do that first.
Prize Picks is America's number one fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take to the game and take it to a new level during basketball's postseason. Testing your skills on Prize Picks this basketball season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. So check it out, Prize Picks. It's the way to go. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right. Let's start right here. We talked about Keon White being kind of the long-term now defensive lineman alongside Christian Barmore. What are you expecting from him this season?
Definitely a step up. I think kind of, I don't know if it's under the radar or just kind of forgettable that he did suffer that concussion like midpoint last year. And it seemed like it took him a while to kind of regain his footing there at midpoint of the year. And then he kind of had a good, I think he came on a little bit more at the end of the year. So I'm more interested in how they kind of use him. What's their plan for him going forward? Is he going to be more like a stand-up edge guy or hand in the dirt, or is he like a stand-up edge guy on early downs and they bump him inside to be an inside pass rusher on third down there. So yeah, you definitely want to see more from him, obviously, in year two. But I don't know. I'm interested in kind of the game plan for him as well.
I'm with you. I think he's at his best as a hand down rusher, but you're right. That injury seemed to really, because remember, he had an amazing preseason,
Yeah.
Played well in the opener against the Eagles, and then kind of got banged up, and it seemed like he never really recovered. So kind of like we talked about with Barmore, you hope fully healthy, you see some more consistency from him. Any trade value for Cole Strange or Juju Smith-Schuster?
No.
I don't know about Cole Strange. I just because the injury, you might, if they could get a 7th for Jonnu Smith, you might be able to get like a 7th or a pick swap for Juju Smith-Schuster. It's nothing significant. It's nothing massive.
I think the big thing, if you're really looking for a place for Juju, I'd be watching that Rashee Rice suspension upcoming with Kansas City. That seems like the logical place. Obviously, he was with them 2 years ago. So, yeah, maybe you get a late round pick swap for them. You obviously have to eat most of the money. Cole Strange, though, would be an interesting one just because he can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. I don't know if a team would take the chance on that.
This is an interesting one. Is the lack of impact UDFA signings from this front office inexperience? Then he names some of the players that we liked who were UDFAs. We don't know what players they liked and they didn't like. I wouldn't say, maybe they look at the guys they signed as more impact than some of the guys listed there. I would disagree, but I don't think they went out of their way to get lesser than UDFAs. I wouldn't categorize it like that. I don't know why they would do that. I think it's pretty clear they hammered certain positions, linebacker, defensive back. I think the running back and tight end that they signed, Deshaun Fenwick and I'm blanking on the tight end's name.
Warren.
Warren, yeah.
Jalen Warren or Jaron Warren or something?
Jordan Warren, something like that. Like those are both guys that will have a chance to make the team. So, right, you mentioned there's a couple tight ends mentioned here. Brevin Spanford was one. Well, Spanford can't block. Warren's a blocker, and they needed a blocking tight end. Dylan Johnson and Deshaun Fenwick, I would argue Dylan Johnson's a better player. You talk about some of the tackles here. The guy they signed, Zuri Henry, is a true swing tackle. Most of these guys are not true swing tackles. They stuck on one side or the other. So if they wanted that true ability, that experience to play on both, a guy to play on both sides, then that's the kind of guy you're going to target. It seemed, I wouldn't say it was lack of impact UDFA signings. I think they're just targeting certain guys. That's not to say that there's guys on this list I wouldn't want. Frank Crum, I think, would have been great. Dylan Johnson, I think, would have been great. And Gabriel Murphy. Those would be the 3 guys I'd circle. It's like, I probably would have been in on. But it's also, you get to bidding on these guys, and they may have just not seen, especially a guy like Dylan Johnson who may not make the team, or a guy like Gabriel Murphy who may not make the team. They may look at it and be like, this guy isn't a roster lock for us. We don't want to give him a massive bonus. So there's any number of reasons that could have happened. I wouldn't. Lack of impact UDFA signings is a weird way to put it.
Yeah. It also seemed like the league, and honestly the media too as a whole, thought like the talent, there was kind of a drop off in talent on day 3, it seemed, this year. So that obviously impacts the UDFA class, probably a weaker like general UDFA class. So yeah, saying like the impact UDFAs, that's kind of a weird way of going about it. But yeah, I think they hit on some guys, some intriguing guys still in that mix that might fit certain roles there throughout the summer.
This is a good one. Are there any success stories of right tackles shifting to left tackle after the draft? Not off the top of my head. There's some going the other way. Actually, Trent Brown might have been a right tackle in college. Let me look that up. But it's not it's not super common because it's a tough move to make.
What was Nate Solder, he came in, he was a left tackle, but
Tight end.
Yeah, but didn't he play right tackle like his rookie year? They needed him at right tackle.
Yeah, but the tight
But
end background, he had experience blocking on both sides. That's
yeah,
different.
he wasn't
Trent
someone who
Brown,
entered the league only with one side of experience.
right. He was a little different. He was kind of his own thing. Trent Brown was a right guard in college. I don't remember that at all.
That is a big that is a big guard.
right guard to left tackle is an outstanding jump. So I mean, there's one. It's Trent Brown. There you go. What's the contingency plan if Polk and Baker suck in camp?
Luther Burden.
Luther Burden. That's literally what I was about to say. This is the group for this year. Excuse me. It's probably it's probably hoping you get more out of Taekwon and Juju. That's probably what it is for this year, and then you go get Luther Burden next year.
Tristan Wirfs, he was a right tackle and switched to left last year, I think. But Tristan Wirfs is all like a all-pro tackle as well. So,
right.
Back to that tackle question, but yeah, it's Luther Burden, or you hope like it's one of those depth guys or Kayshon Boutte, surprises everyone and stands out. But yeah, you're hoping those two guys don't suck in camp. Obviously, 3 quarterbacks on the roster. If you had to guess, obviously Maye and Jacoby, but
Maye, Jacoby, Milton.
Milton, yeah, I'd go Milton for now.
Do you think they trade for a receiver? I not now. This is a next off season conversation. They just have, unless they have so many complementary players, you really can't add anymore because guys got to play. You got to have snaps for everybody. Unless it's for a true number one, which is a guy like Ayuk, which doesn't seem like it's happening. They're not going to trade for anybody they shouldn't trade for anybody who's not clearly at the top of the depth chart.
Yeah. Yeah, they have 11 guys. So
right.
If you're adding a guy, it's got to be that number one alpha. And I just don't know if those guys are going to be available right now and if they're going to want to, divvy up for those guys right now. So
does Alex Austin have a legit chance at the CB2 role? He looked good at the end of last year. Yeah, I'd say so. It's going to be, we'll see what happens with Jonathan Jones. That's the big question. Is he back on the boundary or is he in the slot? If Jonathan Jones is back on the boundary, he's going to be your CB2. But if he's in the slot, I think it's, Alex Austin, Marco Wilson, Marcellus Dial, who's the kid they signed from Alabama State? One of their UDFAs will mix in there. Sean Wade will probably get some run. Like it's a wide open competition. And even if Jonathan Jones is on the boundary, that's the competition for the third boundary cornerback spot, which is still important.
Yeah. Isaiah Bolden too. I don't know. Did he say his name?
No, I knew I was forgetting somebody.
Yeah. So he'll be in that mix as well. They have a lot of like really intriguing of those kind of depth corners, young depth corners with intriguing kind of size, physical traits. So if one of those guys or even two of those guys can kind of take a jump, that secondary is looking pretty good. But staying in that secondary, Marcus Jones, you think he could make the kind of transition back to free safety if maybe some of those corners kind of step up and maybe move Jones back to free safety?
The one thing I wonder about, like he's small and you really need to be able to tackle. You're the last line of defense and just his tackling ability back there. That would be the question. If he can prove to be a capable tackler, he definitely has the speed and the ball tracking to play back there. But you have to be able to tackle in that role. You have to be able to consistently tackle.
Yeah. What do you think about Marcellus Dial back there? I saw some people floating that out there on Twitter. Do you think that's something, because he's got the ball skills, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think he ran like a 4.46, so he's got kind of the speed to do it as well. That could be kind of a interesting transition.
He's never really done it. He pretty much only played on the boundary at South Carolina. So it'll just be how he adjusts. I think they'll try it, but it will be how does he adjust to seeing the field from back there?
Yep. 2025 mock, Luther Burden or offensive tackle.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. What's it going? If you could redo one pick in the draft, who would it be? Or what would it be? And who would you draft instead? I'd probably move up from 68 and get draft either Blake Fisher. I don't think they liked Kingsley. I don't think they were screwing with the guys that had the injury concerns, and he was hurt last year. I would move up and draft either Blake Fisher or Blake Coleman. That's like, if we're, I guess in your points, what would you do? But if we're being realistic, guys who I think were on their board, we know they liked Blake Fisher. We know they liked Blake Coleman. I'd move up from 68 and draft one of those guys, get the guy with some actual left tackle. Not that they were true left tackles, but they actually have left tackle experience, in-game left tackle experience, unlike Caden Wallace.
Yeah. That's one of my one, I don't know the word, or one like question about the draft is like, were they not aggressive enough? Like, we heard they wanted to try to trade up in the first round for, one of those receivers. And then did they kind of miss that run on the pure left tackles there in the third round? So I like Polk still in the second round, but if you could redo one, I might try to get a little more aggressive and go get one of those pure left tackles. So you don't have to just worry about making that, making Caden Wallace switch from the right to the left side.
Are we concerned about the depth at running back? We were screwed if Ramondre goes down. You're not going to keep a second starting caliber running back on a roster like this. You're just not. That's not how it works. I think Antonio Gibson's solid. Again, I like Fenwick, who they signed as a UDFA. You still have Kevin Harris. It's fine. Their running back's fine. Look, if losing Ramondre is their biggest issue this year, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So they'll make it work. They can also still running backs you can add super late. Like they added Zeke last year in camp. If they feel like they need another back, they'll go out and get another back. I think they're fine. It's not the best position on their roster, but I think they're fine there.
Yeah. I was just going to pull up, Biz said they have $50 million in cap space left. They could still add a running back. I just pulled up the list. Like Dalvin Cook, he's kind of cooked, but Rashad Penny, Joshua Kelly, Latavius Murray, Matt Breida, Kareem Hunt, Jerick McKinnon, Brandon Bolden's out there, Melvin Gordon. Like they could go add, it's nothing flashy, obviously, but they could go add a veteran depth there in free agency if they needed it at some point, just like they did with Zeke last year.
Who could be a surprise cut this year? Are we counting Cole Strange in this, or is it kind of obvious?
Is that a surprise at this point?
That's what I'm saying. Or Juju, like you can put them both in that.
Yeah.
The three guys I think who should have the warning lights on after the draft are Cole Strange, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Bailey Zappi.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about any other surprises outside of that group. No one on defense, really.
Yeah. We got to get a little closer, and then maybe we'll see. Does Elliot Wolf get the GM title?
I don't think they're going to give him the GM title just because that's not how they operate. Like they've never, like Kraft has never had a GM title, but I think he deserves like the de facto GM, and maybe that's director of player personnel or one of those, not director of scouting, right? Like some title that kind of signals that he has control, but I don't think it's going to be the exact GM title.
He's getting the new contract and all that.
Yeah.
He's
getting the stuff. He's getting the stuff that matters. This is kind of a good one. What existing player won the draft, if possible? Like locked up a roster spot, or maybe one playing time, or
Austin Hooper, I guess, would be the best example of this. I'd say any of those corners, any of those depth corners that they didn't bring in like a real true. They didn't draft a Cam Hart or a Kyrie Jackson or Jarvis Brownlee. They definitely now have more opportunity.
Would you say Chooks at left tackle, or no, just because Caden Wallace is still a threat there, theoretically?
Yeah, they still drafted somebody with a plan to play that position. So,
yeah.
What else do we got here? This is a good one, actually. What role does Marte Mapu have this year?
I think he's just going to be doing a little bit of everything, which I don't know if I love that, but I think he's going to be at free safety. You're going to see him at linebacker. I think he's just going to be kind of mix and matched all over the place.
Yeah, this one's super interesting just because it's not the staff that drafted him is no longer in charge. So I'm sure Bill Belichick had a plan for him. I think it may have been to let Kyle Duggar walk and play him in that role, but Bill Belichick had a plan for him. Bill Belichick's no longer here. Does he go back to playing linebacker? Do they keep him at safety? I think Gerard Mayo had said the plan was to keep him at safety. Does he just become a special teams player? He does have a good skill set for that new kickoff rule. It's going to be very interesting to see what his usage is. I don't think anything would surprise me at this point. I think it's all on the table with him.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of in that secondary, Shaun Wade at free safety. I'm more interested. Shaun Wade was really good in camp in the preseason last year when they moved him inside as a slot corner, and then they lost all their boundary corners during the season, and they had to move him back outside along the boundary. So I'm kind of interested if maybe, now that you have Alex Austin and Isaiah Bolden and maybe Marcellus Dial and Jonathan Jones, maybe he stays out on the boundary, if they give Shaun Wade another look in the slot and see how that looks again. I'd rather see that maybe over than free safety.
Especially now with Jonathan Jones, who I think he's entering his age 30 season, right?
Yeah.
Entering his age 30 season on an expiring contract, entering his age 31 season on an expiring contract. You got to find a long-term option in the slot. Shaun Wade had his best in college when he was a slot corner, so that wasn't surprising to see. So maybe they give him more run there.
Yeah. Do you think the defense?
All right, we'll do this one real quick, then we'll go to yours. And I saw Mayo reportedly offered Devin McCourty a job. Which player besides Tom Brady would we most want to see on the staff?
We kind of offered Tom Brady a job too.
Yeah, that's true. This is a good question. I honestly might go Wes Welker, just because he's proven to be a good wide receivers coach, and boy, do they need that. I guess if we're going nuts, I'd say Randy Moss, because he'd probably be a pretty good wide receivers coach. Mike Vrabel, we talked about how much we wanted Mike Vrabel on the staff right all off. He's just like an invite, basically in the role that Matthew Slater's in. If we're going to talk people who are like actually in coaching too, Kevin Falk. Kevin Falk did a lot at that LSU program. He'd be an interesting hire.
Yeah. I still wish last year they brought in LeGarrette Blount, because he was around in like training camp on that I forget what it was called, like doing something with, he was him and Aaron Dobson on that coaching.
Yeah. The fellowship.
Like fellowship. Right. And he's a good vibes guy. He would have been fun to have in the room there, but yeah, obviously didn't happen. But do you think the defense will be more aggressive up front this year with the blitzes? I don't know about if they're going to be bringing more blitzes, but that's something DeMarcus Covington kind of highlighted, that they are going to be more aggressive as a whole. I think there are two keys or two things they highlighted were more turnovers and more aggressiveness this year. So I don't know if that's just going to be them bringing the house, or maybe just letting guys like Josh Uche kind of pin their ears back more instead of, playing a more disciplined there on the edge. But they do plan, it sounds like, to be more aggressive this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think you're going to see more of an aggressive nature from the rush, whether it's on a blitz or not.
Yeah. What about going back to free agents and kind of that free safety? Justin Simmons, I think that's the guy we're both still interested in.
I'd absolutely take Justin Simmons.
Yeah. Any other free agents kind of from a broad point of view? I know we've talked about Stephon Gilmore a lot.
Gilmore would be the only other one, I think.
Yeah. I'd love Justin Simmons. He'd be a great fit in that secondary with them, but we'll see what happens there. I just had one. This is kind of the big one everyone wants to talk about right now. When will Drake Maye start, or will he sit the entire season?
So I think he will end up starting this year. I really want to see when the bye week is before I answer this question, because I think that it's sneaky important in answering this. We'll get the schedule. They usually put it out second, third week in May. So that's coming sooner rather than later. I've kind of used Halloween as just a, checkpoint if it's a week earlier, a week later, whatever. But, it's kind of around the midway point. I don't think they're going to start him right away. I think they saw what happened doing that with Mac Jones, and you can't pull back if he's not ready. I think they want to be sure when they're ready. And then, it should take about, I think, half a season.
Yeah. Yeah. All the indications we've gotten makes it seem like they're obviously not going to rush him into this. And it kind of seems like they want to start him on the bench or on the sideline, I should say. My only thing is I still think we're going to get out there and we've heard them preach competition, and I just think he's going to be kind of clearing away the best quarterback on the field. And then if you're preaching competition, can you say we're going to sit this guy down? Kind of like what happened with Mac and Cam and Mac's rookie year in 21, where it was the best thing for the team. If Mac Jones started, he was the best quarterback in camp. Now you flash forward now, if Drake Maye is the best quarterback in camp, like, can you sit him? And maybe you have an early bye and you can sell to the team like, hey, we're going to bench him a month just so we don't overwhelm him. And then we're going to put him in. That might be easier for the defense to understand, but that's my only thing. But yeah, the bye week's going to be important, and just don't rush him. We said, like, once he's in there, he's in there. So you got to be 100% certain that he's ready to get in there before you just kind of throw him out there. But that's obviously the one everyone's looking at. If we were on Prize Picks and the line was 6.5 games played or games started by Drake Maye this year, would you go more or less?
6.5 games started.
Yeah.
That's a good number. I'd probably go more.
More? Yeah, I'd go more too, I think. What about games won? That's also kind of, we need to see the schedule for that one. But
yeah, I mean, they'll be better.
They do have a tough list of opponents on the schedule. I think, like, strength of schedule, they're like 30th or 31st, which is tough when you're playing a last place schedule. But, like, Joe Burrow and the Bengals were a 4th place team last year. So it wasn't a great time to have a last place schedule. But
yeah, I think probably like 6 or 7 is what you're looking at.
That's the range I'm kind of into. Right
unless now. Unless Drake Maye maxes out and goes CJ Stroud, I'm thinking 6 or 7.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Most important re-signing done this offseason. I guess you can include Barmore in there if you want to, but
yeah, no, but it's Mike Onwenu.
Yeah,
look at how worried we are about one of their tackle spots. Now you're telling me they have another that's open. It's easily Mike Onwenu.
Oh, well, Caden Wallace could be the right tackle.
Well, Caden Wallace is going to be the left tackle. So you're right. You know what? If they didn't re-sign Mike Onwenu, one of their left tackles, who's a right tackle, would actually be playing right tackle. So
right tackle.
That would feel good. What is Joe Milton's role in the QB room? His talks with the Pats have been about playing quarterback. Yeah, he's going to play quarterback. Joe Milton's not a tight end. Like, I know people think that because he's big and he's physical. First off, his biggest issue as a quarterback is his footwork. So if he can't, work out a drop back, how's he going to work out route running? He's also not, people think because he can run, he's super fast. Like, he's not slow, but also he's not going to run away from coverage. Part of the reason he's so effective as a runner is that he's fast enough at 6'5", 230 that he's just impossible to tackle. So if anything, he's a running back, but he's too big to play that. I think his role is essentially is a combination of 2 roles. When Jacoby Brissett was backing up Andrew Luck in Indianapolis, they used him for Hail Marys because he had a bigger arm than Luck, and for quarterback sneaks because he was bigger and they didn't want Luck taking the beating. So I think Joe Milton gives you that. And then maybe you put in, when I say this, don't think of Taysom Hill because he's not going to play tight end, but you put in a package for him where it's like some version of the Cam Newton goal line package. So there's designed runs, there's read options, and there's options for him to throw out of it, and you just let him operate those. And you don't just run on the goal line. Maybe you mix in a little Malik Cunningham as well, but not with the receiver part. Like, he's just playing quarterback. But I think he's a package player, and then you hope he shows enough in the preseason that in a year or two, you drafted him with a 6th-round pick, maybe you flip him for a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. Brendan Schooler, he had penalties last year. Blue 42 Python saying there was a lack of development from him. Do you see him off the 53-man roster?
I don't see him off, but he's got to cut down on the penalties because they were stupid penalties. And it's not, it's a different staff than the one that brought him in. So they need special teams guys. So I think he makes the team. Although if he starts making a bunch of stupid penalties in the preseason, maybe not. But one way or another, he's got to cut down on the penalties. If he has another bad run of penalties this year, maybe he doesn't make it through the season.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have a relationship with Jeremy Sprainer. I think he committed to him under Arizona, never played under
Something
him.
like that.
But I
Yeah.
think then Brendan Schooler's brother played under Sprainer, so there is a relation
Yeah.
there.
Texas.
But
Or
yeah,
UTEP or something.
you can't. What was it, like 8 or 9 penalties last year? I think he was either first in the league or tied for second among specialists. So you need to cut that number down. But Slater's obviously gone. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't at least, if something happens over camp in the preseason that works his way off the 53-man roster.
Yeah. Do we have any more? Or do we want to get a quick Boston sports minute in here before we wrap it up?
We could do that, but before we do that, Alex, Celtics are advancing, and if you want to go to a game, TD Garden, we are back. We're hosting round 2. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to kickoff. Or tip-off, kickoff. I'm getting ahead of myself here. They have flash deals, zone deals, last minute deals, save up to 60% off buy-in last minute for sports. You can also use concerts, comedy, theater. I love, if you're in Boston, you can go get a slice at halftime or go to the Harp for a drink. And then right before tip off, you can log on Game Time, get your tickets, get a really good deal, go see the Celtics in the playoffs there. So take all the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Game Time. So Celtics are advanced. They are through. Porzingis out. You worried?
I mean, I'm worried big picture. I just think Porzingis gives them such a different element that they don't have. Like, you could lose Jaylen Brown. They have other guys that can do what Jaylen Brown does, not as high of a level, but they can do it. Porzingis gives them an interior presence that they just can't mimic. So if you run into the Nuggets, right, and Jokic, you need that guy. Now, the reporting makes it sound like he'll come back during the Eastern Conference Finals, which I think is perfect. You ease him back in during that series, and then he's full go when you get to the finals. They should still beat whoever it is, Orlando or Cleveland, in the second round. I still like them against whoever in the Eastern Conference Finals. I like them against anybody coming out of the East. But, boy, it was already tough enough, the matchup with Denver, and not having Porzingis 100% would be a brutal blow.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be fine, I think, without him throughout the East. They should still, walk through that. You take him out, it's basically the team last year, just replacing Drew for Marcus Smart. So they should be fine through the East. But yeah, if you want to beat Denver, or even Minnesota's got a really good size if they work their way out of the West somehow. Like, you're going to need Porzingis to win the finals most likely. So hopefully like the Cleveland series goes 7 and you have a week before you even have to play the second round, and then you just don't need him in the second round and you can get him plenty of rest here down the line. But yeah, you're going to need him at the end of this stretch there to kind of get over the hump there in the finals. Definitely.
Yeah, he's the most important player on the team, not named Jason Tatum. I truly believe that.
Yeah. And then Bruins, they're doing it again. Are they? Maybe. Puck drop in about 20 minutes here. Do you have any
good about them tonight? You can't. And I think they'll win because the Maple Leafs can only do so much without Austin Matthews. But you even if you think they're going to win, you can't tell me as a Bruins fan you feel good about this game tonight.
I oddly do, which is
weird
because
why? Based on what?
I never have confidence in them, and they don't deserve confidence in
right. And so
games.
Tonight you do,
but it's just, it's like, it's the Leafs second. Like, you can't lose 2 games against the Leafs without Austin Matthews, can you? And it seems like
if any team can, it's this Bruins team. I agree with you, but if any team can, it's this Bruins team.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I rarely have confidence in them in these big games, but I just have a weird confidence that they're gonna win by like 2 or 3 goals tonight. I think they're gonna come out. Hopefully, they come out with a little more jump than they did in Game 5, because that was ugly. 2 shots in the first period there. I still can't believe Jim Montgomery changed the lines. That is still just blowing my mind that he went back to what failed him last year against Florida and changed the lines again. I'm still confused about that. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know why. I just feel confident in them tonight.
All right. But we should mention the Red Sox too, by the way.
Yeah.
In this 18-13, Great pitching with all these injuries.
With a AAA roster, pretty much.
I mean, look, or they're 18 and 14. Sorry, but how they already done? What time did they play today? Oh, was it a getaway game today? I think it was.
They played at 1:30, so yeah, it must
Yeah.
have been.
Look, they're going to get guys back, and they're going to get better. And I don't know how long this pitching is going to last, because I think these guys are thrown in a way that's not sustainable. They're going to blow their arms out. But they've given us a baseball season into May. That's exciting. I still have my problems with the overall direction of the organization, but I think Alex Cora deserves a ton of credit, and Andrew Bailey as well. I think the two of them deserve a ton of credit for getting what they've gotten out of this group so far.
Yeah. Andrew Bailey, team MVP, I'd say so far.
Yeah.
I mean, what Cutter Crawford has like a sub-1 ERA right
He has
now,
the best.
doesn't he?
He has like the best ERA in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time till he blows his arm out, because he's only throwing breaking balls, and it's not sustainable, but it's fun for now. So
I love like Cooper Criswell, like they trade for him and then he just like shatters his hand upon arrival immediately. It's just like,
not Cooper Criswell, Garrett Cooper. Cooper Criswell's still healthy somehow.
Yeah.
No, it's the first baseman, Dominic Smith. Any minute now, it's coming for him. You know it.
It's just they're in and then they're out. But
right,
yeah, they're winning games somehow. So we'll see. But it is Jeremy Swayman as well. I just looked that up. Obviously, I think I would have stayed with Swayman tonight. Probably his series from here on out. But
I think that is the report right now that Swayman's going to start.
Yeah, I just looked. He led them out on the ice, so it's his net.
He should be starting tonight.
Yeah, 100%. But all right, let's go watch the Bruins. Hopefully we have a win. Hopefully we don't have an elimination game back in the Garden on Saturday. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter at Real Alex Barth, at I am Brian Hines. Make sure you follow at Patriots at CLNS on Twitter as well. We'll let you know when our next show will be. We'll be back, for the usual 2 shows next week, but follow so you know when we go live. You can subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications as well. And also head over to 985thesportshub.com to read Alex's written coverage of the Patriots, and patspulpit.com as well to read my work over there as well. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Go Bruins, and we will see you guys next week.